you a songwriter? Are you looking to turn your songwriting passion into a full-time gig? Whether you are just at the start of your songwriting journey or a seasoned industry professional, this show is made for you. Welcome to The Songwriter Show, bringing together songwriting news, interviews, and community. Now, welcome your host, Sarantos.
Thank you so much for tuning in, and welcome back again to The Songwriter Show here on Reality Radio 101 every single Tuesday evening. I'm your host, Sarantos, a solo music artist who's been writing lyrics for as long as I can remember. Words just mean the world to me, and that's why I'm thrilled to host this show. I believe in my heart that every song is an important story. Tonight, I'm so excited to have on the show Stephen Puri. He's one of the few people on earth who's been a senior executive at 2 motion picture studios and raised over $20 million in venture capital. He's produced the digital effects for Independence Day, which won the Oscar for visual effects. In addition to his film work, he's founded 3 startups, 1 successful exit, and 2 failures. He now lectures on the lessons in sustainable high performance he learned while working alongside some of the world's most productive people.
And now, welcome this week's special guest.
Welcome to the show. How are you?
This is great. I'm looking forward to talking about creativity and flow states and some fun stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And to the fans and listeners on the show, they know that I've done screenplays and doing a bunch of stuff. So I thought sometimes it's nice to switch it up. You obviously have a pretty unique background. Even though they're not going to hear a song, I think they can learn a lot from you too. I guess let's start at the beginning. What got you in the movie world doing some of these effects, and what got you started in this?
I fell kind of ass backwards into this in that I grew up in Virginia, went to school at USC in LA, and had a background in tech. And I was like a little junior software engineer and happened to be around a lot of friends who were creative, whether they were screenwriters, wannabe filmmakers, young directors, songwriters, stuff like that, because LA is such a creative community. And suddenly film really needed people who understood computers. So I got into it doing digital effects, as you know, and then met a lot of directors. And that made me want to be a studio executive and try and get entire movies made. So I got to work with a lot of interesting people along the way.
That's very cool. When you first got into this, again, I know you've done a few different things. Basically, out of all the stuff you've done, what was the most fun for you?
You know what? I do remember a couple of moments, and I'll be somewhat brief, when I first realized that I wouldn't go into business, traditional business kind of stuff and all that, and I was going to go into film. I remember there was a moment of like all these rough cuts of movies that hadn't been released coming into our company, because the company where I started working was doing, like digital effects, music videos, commercials, trailers for upcoming movies. And it was kind of amazing seeing how the sausage was made. Yeah. Right. Suddenly you were in the mix with all these people who were writing and directing and editing movies. That was super cool. Probably 17 years later, I was an executive vice president at DreamWorks for Kurtzman Orsi, who are great writers. And I have to admit, I'd done a lot at that moment. I had worked with Cameron, worked with Mel Gibson on Braveheart, worked with David Fincher on Seven, worked on a lot of movies, worked with Scorsese, like a bunch of people. But it was my first meeting on a project I brought into DreamWorks in Steven's private conference room. And no matter what I had done up to that point, I will tell you, there's a moment of sitting there where I was like, OMFG, I'm like sitting at Steven's private conference room table in his office, debating story points with Steven Spielberg. Like, what?
That's wild.
How did that happen? And of course, you have to be cool. You have to look totally normal, as inside you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. So I had something similar recently. I won a scholarship for one of my screenplays, and I met Margaret French Isaac, right? She was my mentor.
Yeah. Wow.
And it was so wild because, of course I've seen Forrest Gump and Pirates of the Caribbean and Stepmom. So I was there, and it's funny to see other people fawning at some of the mentors and being a little bit annoying, right? So I tried to be really humble and just learn, and she gave me some notes, and it was very cool.
That's awesome.
And at the end, I ended up getting like her cell phone and one other guy's cell phone and emails. And they're like, yeah, just hit me up in September when the notes are changed. And hey, by the way, it takes 2 to 8 years to make a movie. So it was very freaking cool for someone. I just started putting my screenplays out last year. And to meet some of these people, like you said, you're talking to these people, and it's so wild to be there with people that are industry giants. it's like you're in awe, right? I mean, that's the best way to explain it, I guess.
Yeah. And it is advice. I just had a son, he's 7 months old.
Yeah.
And there will come a time, God willing, when he sort of says like, hey, how do I navigate whatever career he's passionate about? And I hope he has a passion, right?
Sure.
And I think the biggest thing I'll tell him is it is more than what you'll study and what you'll practice, what do this. It is surround yourself with the greatest people you can find in that. And I strongly believe like, if you want to be great, it is better to like mop the floors where Michael Jordan is practicing and understand what greatness looks like than to be like a really nicely paid high school basketball coach, where you're going to go nowhere,
Yeah.
It's like wipe the floors for free around your role model and just absorb.
It's so interesting you say that because they literally, some of the mentors talked about, hey man, just you want to work with who's cool to work with, right? And they kept kind of saying like, don't harass me, don't email me, don't like whatever. And I feel like I was one of the few at this thing that was like that. And I think they respect it. And then when they read your shit and they're like, oh, this is really good, obviously it's different, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's the best advice because I have people reach out to me all the time. Hey, check out my song. There's a fine line to become friends with someone first before you hit them up in 2 years. And I think that's kind of similar to what you pretty much just said. I think it's so true.
It's true. And I'm going to tell you actually a really fun story that illustrates part of that, which is, yes, a lot of the people that we look up to have had a lucky break.
Yeah.
So you can kind of point to that. But when they had the lucky break, when they got the door open to get into the room, they were ready. They had something. And I'll tell you a funny story. So old friend of mine grew up poor back east, ran away from home at like 14, 15-ish, right?
Yeah.
And ends up living, like 6 foot tall white guy, but ends up living in like the 80s, 90s in South Central LA with like friends of cousins of sort of thing, right? So he's kind of like the white guy in the neighborhood. Witnesses a drive-by shooting. And he knows that they saw he was there because, he stands out. He was in the front yard. They know that he can finger who was in the car, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do when you're totally poor, living on your friend's sofa, and you know someone's coming for you? He joined the Navy. He's like, they can't kill me if I'm on a sub, right? Goes off, becomes a sonar operator on a sub for like 3 years. Eventually, things die down, whatever. He gets out, comes back to LA, and starts working as an electrician because he learned obviously some skills in the Navy.
Yeah.
And one day he's working in Hollywood Hills on Wesley Strick's house, and Wesley wrote, Cape Fear. He's a great screenwriter. He's a nice person, but he's also a great screenwriter in thrillers, right?
Yeah.
So he, among other people, work on Wesley's house. And one day, Wesley, after seeing him, for weeks, just strikes up a conversation, goes, hey, man, what is it you want to do? And he's like, well, I'm doing electrician stuff now to keep me, paid, but I really want to be a screenwriter. And Wesley says, hey, you ever write something? I'll read one thing of yours. Don't send me 10. Don't reach out to me for 5 years.
Yeah.
But there's one thing you want me to read. And David goes, actually, I've been working on something already. I know what it is. And he gave it to him. And Wesley helped him get it made. And that movie was Training Day.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
David now is directing, Warner Brothers superhero movies.
Yeah.
He did End of Watch. And he's done tons of stuff. But that was his moment where the door opened and he was ready. It wasn't just luck, but it was like, I was prepared for luck to happen,
Yeah. The more I'm in this business in terms of music, screenplays, I read Steve Martin's bio years ago.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, get so good they can't ignore you.
Yeah.
So in 2017, I stopped all ads. I basically just focused on it. And I feel like the last year and this year is my shit is to the point where I'm proud of it. And it's very favorably received. But I wasn't there 13 years ago. I wasn't even there 3 years ago. So I think you got to focus on that before your chance encounters or your whatever. It's hard to do, but that's what you have to do.
It is. And, one of the things I'm passionate about, and this is probably more impassioned now that I have a son, and I look at what our generation has created in technology. I mean, not just art and books and screenplays and, songs, but we've created a lot of beautiful, addictive tools to make sure that you don't create art, that you don't do anything with your life,
Yeah.
Like Mark Zuckerberg's next 450-foot yacht comes because you spend your life scrolling and double tapping, and he just sells your time to advertisers. That's it, straight up. So when you think about the incentives at the, we're billionaires, we control the world level, the incentives are just keep all these people who think they want to be screenwriters and songwriters and blah, blah, just keep them scrolling, give them addictive stuff, figure out what pixels they want to touch, give them more of that, right? And that burns me up that is our contribution. Our greatest contributions are like Twitter, X, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snap, like all this stuff is just like waste your life. And I now speak a lot about like, hey, what can you do to do something with your life, to leave your mark? Don't go to the graveyard with, the great book or the great song or the great movie still inside you,
So what advice would you give a musician or screenwriter with everything you've seen? And you've already given some, right? But if you could give them one piece of advice, what would it be?
It would be find the time of day when the muses speak to you. And I'm going to give a short example of that. When I got into film, there was this very established film writer who was famous, maybe infamous, for not talking to his family in the morning. He was like, I am not the dad who's going to be like, hey, who wants cornflakes? And who needs a ride to school? He's like, when I get up, I'm going to my office. I'm going to write from like 5 to 9 in the morning. Doesn't even say good morning to his wife. He said, because when I start talking to you, I can't hear my characters in my head anymore. Now that guy's Ron Bass, who wrote Rain Man, My Best Friend's Wedding, like go down, like $1 to $2 million scripts. And of course, his family's like, Dad, you're making $2 million a script. We'll make the cornflakes. Just, keep writing scripts, right?
Yeah.
But the reason I bring that up is it was the first time I brushed with someone who was so aware of their chronotype, which is the concept. There are times of day you're more adept at certain kinds of things. And my advice is to say, hey, figure out what that is for you. And there is a culture of, hey, late at night when it's quiet and everyone else is asleep, like I get in the zone. I just, things flow. Or, you have the great Keith Richards story about he wrote that guitar lick like in a dream and sort of like jotted it down by the bed, went back to sleep. So, find out what that is for you. It could be, for me, I write blog posts. I write text, like prose in the morning. That's when I write stuff that makes sense. I write in the afternoon and it's disjointed and I hate it later. So find that for you and guard that time jealously, like make it sacred.
Yeah, I think it's great advice. Yeah. You obviously have a lot of experience, and I think a lot of our listeners are going to really jive with what you're saying. But is there anything else that you would want to tell them?
Yeah, there is one big thing. And this is what I do right now is I help people get into their flow state. And I know there are probably a section of your audience. It's like, I'm a flow master. I'm floating above my desk right now, whatever, And there's probably another cohort that's like, I've heard about it. I know it's a thing. Like artists talk about it and athletes talk about being in the zone. So let me take like 30 seconds real quick and just define that so everyone is on equal footing, which is there was a Hungarian-American psychologist, this dude, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, this is like 40, 50 years ago. He had a thesis. He goes, you talk to artists or inventors or athletes, like all these different people who are high performers in their areas, about the concentrated state where they do the thing that makes them famous. How did you write that screenplay? How did you come up with that idea for Gravity? And he's like, it's weird the way they do very different things, but how they describe that state where they do the great thing is very similar. He's like, there's something going on there. So he did, a bunch of research, a bunch of interviews, and he wrote the book Flow. It's the seminal work. It's why we call it a flow state. And he said the greatest thing, he said, in my opinion, he said, I chose this word, even though, sometimes people I spoke to were like, oh, that's when the muses sing. That's when I'm in the zone. That's when I spoke to jazz musicians about improv. He's like, I chose the word flow because it was the most beautiful metaphor for what I found, which is we are all on the river paddling to move ourselves forward. But if we align our boat with the current, it carries us. It magnifies our efforts.
It's wonderful.
And it is an amazing state. If you learn how to get your brain into that state, amazing things happen. And it is an actual brain state. They put jazz musicians, right, in like jazz trios who reported being like in flow, like in improv, where just they became one with the music, one with the trio. They put them in fMRI machines and found that it is true. The moment in time where the musician said, I just became one with the music at that point, their prefrontal cortex activity drops off a cliff. Like, and that's the part of your brain that is very conscious of self, like those kind of ideas of identity. You just kind of lose that and you become one with the work.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm super passionate about now.
So it's called Flow, and who's it by?
You can put this in the show notes. It's a very long Hungarian name, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. It's like 22 characters long. I'll email it to you. I'll send you a link to the book Flow, which is awesome.
So tell us about, do you consult with people if any of the listeners want to reach out to you? Like, what is your role in terms of any kind of development plans that you have or anything that you want to share?
I'll tell you, I experienced flow before, like a flow state, before I knew what the thing was. I was on a flight and I was going from Austin, which is where I am now. I think we're both like central time zone.
Yeah.
And I was flying to SF and got on the flight and the pilot's like, oh, the Wi-Fi's broken. Sorry, kids, see you in San Francisco. And on that flight, I got so much done. When we were landing, I thought we were like 15 minutes in the air and we were like 2 hours and 40 minutes in the air. Like it was a complete experience of losing myself in my work. And I was designing something. I was doing a graphic design for something and ended up having a free night in San Francisco because suddenly I'd finished the thing I was working on for the meeting. I had dinner with a buddy of mine. I was like, dude, I had this amazing experience on the flight. I feel great. I finished the thing I thought was going to take me all night working in the hotel and described this thing to him. He said, dude, that was a flow state. Like you've never experienced that before. And that led me on a journey to go, okay, what is this thing I don't know about? Why didn't anyone tell me in college? God damn it.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing awakening of like, wow, I'm doing things I think are the best I've done and they're authentic. Like, in this world of AI, everything feels like LLM ridden slop. And you have all these like music generators and they all kind of like revert to the mean. They sound like all the exact same country song. You put in, here's a theme and make it sound like a country song. And it all sounds like the same country song, right?
Yeah.
And did you have Garrett on a while ago?
Yeah.
A good country artist who's from Texas. So anyway, I say all this because what I'm doing now is I studied a ton of it. I started lecturing on it like 5 years ago, probably giving like 300-400 talks on flow states and made an app for people who want to drop in that sort of gives you the ingredients like flow music and a little distraction blocker and, like a way to stay on track. And it's super fun. So I run that community right now.
Tell us about the craziest thing that's happened to you in the last year or two.
I had absolutely no idea. I have been in some amazing relationships in my life. I had no idea that I could love my son and my wife the way I do. It's sort of like that Grinch who stole Christmas sort of cartoon where his like heart grows 2 sizes. I didn't know that was a thing until it happened like last winter. And my God, like my son smiles and like everything is good in the world.
Very cool. Tell us about any scams. I like to ask a lot of guests about scams. So any scams you want to warn us about in any of these fields that you're involved in?
Yeah, I'll tell you, touching upon something we said a moment ago, there is a lot of fear among my creative friends and in the creative community around like AI is coming for your job and AI is going to write all the movies and write all the songs and do all the things, blah, blah, blah. And here is the most honest way I think to think of it is this. LLMs and most of the kind of AI that people are talking about right now, they are trained on the history of human output. So yes, they have read every book, every blog post, every bit of computer code, every lyric, every, poem and stuff like that, right? And what they do is they simply say, hey, you stupid human, you probably just want to repeat the pattern that I've looked at in your history because I've read everything you've written, right? So I'm going to pull the past into the present and just give you an extension of that same pattern, right? Now, where do humans fit into that? Like what is the thing that makes humans great still, as opposed to, let me just sit around and let the AI make all the music, right? The thing that humans still do better is they look to the future and they say, how do I break this pattern? How do I bring something new or different to this? And that I think is amazing. So I think there's a bit of the, I don't know if it's scamminess. I know you asked about scams, but there's a bit of the AI fear mongering to get people to do stuff that I don't think is actually true. What it does is it really forces you to focus on developing a sense of taste, like developing your skills to be great, because you can't get by with just being someone who writes a screenplay based on other screenplays, writes a song based on other song, writes a novel based on other novels, because LLMs do that better, period, full stop. You can bring it forward in the future and go, here's a reinvention of this art form. Here's a way to break the pattern that you expect. So I don't know if that qualifies as a scam, but
No, I get it though. Yeah, no, it's a great point. I agree with you. I think you have to learn to work with AI. And I have been around people that are like, oh, look, I made this song or I can't sing and I did this with it. But to me, I think if you have a professional that says, he's trying to make something from great to freaking awesome, right?
Yeah.
Or he's trying to change one little part of it, or, saying, hey, give me another word for this. When people are like, oh, I wrote a whole, you could tell, right? I mean, I think that's so obvious. And obviously I've been doing this for a lot longer, so people can't say, well, you're doing AI, right? Because I'm like Authors Guild certified, and all this.
I was doing this before AI, kid.
Exactly, right? Like way before, like from I was freaking 8 years old or something. But anyway. All right, man. Before we let you go, give us your website, anywhere people can get in touch with you.
2 easy things with this. If there's anything that I've said where someone's like, hey, man, I'd love to know more about that, and they want a referral to a book or a post or something to read, my email address is super public. It's Steven, Steven, at the Sukha. Sukha means happiness in Sanskrit, right? So TheSukha.co, at the Sukha company, the happiness company. You can email me. I'm not going to write you back the history of my life or give you a long answer. But if there's something I can help you with, like, oh man, here's a great book or blog post that'll help you, I will do that. Second thing is, if someone wants to get into flow, like, hey man, I want to go deep and like develop a flow practice, we made an app to do exactly that. It's a website basically called the Sukha. You just go to TheSukha.co. It's free for 3 days. Try it out. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, email me and tell me what you hated.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. All right, man. I want to thank you so much for being on the show tonight.
Thank you for having me. And I thank you for everyone who's still listening.
Oh, you're welcome. And to all the listeners out there, thank you for spending a little bit of your precious time with the two of us tonight. Thank you for listening, and we both hope your unique story gets heard around the world too. My name is Sarantos. Please join me every Tuesday evening to hear other amazing artists and people share their fascinating behind-the-scenes stories right here at The Songwriter Show. Have a great night. I love you all.
Help me, please shelter me. As a child, I was so young and free. I felt so confident as you carried me. You held me so close and always believed. You instilled in me a sense of purpose and destiny. The world is black and white, as seen through the eyes of a child. Innocence so pure it lasted for a while. I miss the day, the calm you let me feel. You always believed in me and made everything so real. I miss being a child. I miss feeling a bit wild. No care in the world for me. A child's mind open for all to see. A child's mind is so young and free. A child will always believe. A child's mind must belong to you and me. The years have passed on, many days have come and gone. My intentions once good, my actions now sometimes wrong. Once wide-eyed and full of spunk, now so negative and always drunk. Lost looking in the rain for that childlike innocence again. I miss being a child. I miss feeling a bit wild. No care in the world for me. A child's mind open for all to see. A child's mind is so young and free. A child will always believe. A child's mind must belong to you and me. child. I miss feeling a bit wild. No care in the world for me. A child's mind open for all to see. A child's mind is so young and free. A child will always believe. A child's mind must belong to you and me. A child doesn't know how to lie. It used to be mine.
Thank you for listening to The Songwriter Show. To keep the momentum going, head over to www.songwritershow.com and join our free music community of artists, songwriters, and producers. That's www.songwritershow.com.